First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We are taking a live look there at Mount Hood. That looks pretty amazing.
Yes.
That is magical right there,
Yes.
that shot. And it does make me want to get up there skiing, although I don't know how the snow is.
Oh, man.
Is it good?
I've been here. I personally have not been up there, but I haven't heard anything but glowing reviews.
Glowing reviews of that
Yes.
snow. Well, hello, everyone. Again, this is Fox 12 Now. We're live here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, as we are every weekday, and we get to do these special segments with the one and only Katie Zuniga, talking about extended weather forecasts,
Yes.
looking at the past, the present, the future.
Of snow and
the
rain.
snow,
Yes.
all of that. So a lot to cover here, and we are live, of course, on the Fox 12 Oregon app. We're also live on Facebook, which is why I have these devices right here in front of me.
dueling mechanisms.
Yes, so I can just send double the texts all the time. No, but so I can pull this up, and particularly on Facebook, if you have questions for Katie, feel free to drop those in there, and I will try to get those to her as we take a look at some of these forecasts that are coming up. Well, I had to pull that back up again because I pressed the wrong button, but nonetheless.
Hey, you don't need to tell people that.
Exactly, they don't need to know. But
Yes,
taking a look here.
we
Snow
are
in the
talking
Cascades.
about snow. Okay. So here's what we had really in the last 24 hours. And when I say 24, we haven't had any today. So this is that last bit of snow that we got yesterday. Another 3 at Timberline, or 3 at Ski Bowl, 9 at Timberline, and 8 at Mount Hood Meadows. And basically we're at about 42 inches new snow at Timberline since this came through. So quite a bit of new snow up there. That answers your question of what is it like and how good is the snow. This is as of last night. We see those numbers come in at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, we had 93% of normal, of average there at the Mount Hood area, and then when you zoom out, that's the only one of our snowpack in the entire state that is under that 100% of average. When I updated these today, I added a percent or two to every single one of these that we monitor for you. What does this mean? Well, it means we have pretty good snowpack going into this even next round of snow. In the southern part of the state, where we actually unfortunately have been talking about some flooding and some issues, that's a concern that we have because the snowpack is so plentiful, but it is really good obviously for water supply, and of course looking at going into wildfire season, we always like to see, you know, a nice good buildup of that snow, but there is concerns because of that snowpack to the south of that flooding. So just keeping that in mind, as it is wonderful. This is the snow forecast, the graph model that we tend to look at, one of those more high resolution ones that we talk about. That's the shorter range, that's a little more precise. To about 7 o'clock tonight, you can see no new snow. We have this next system coming in, which I'll give you a rundown of the rain that goes with it. Not until later into the evening, but you go overnight to tomorrow morning. And by the time we get to GDO, about the 7 o'clock hour, we're looking at about 9 inches at the ski resort. I think this is a little biased toward a little more than we might see, because I'm thinking you'll see here in a moment that it looks like it might be more like 8 to 9 inches for over 3 days, not by tomorrow morning. So we'll see. That seems a little, you know, over the top for me.
A little ambitious.
A little ambitious, that's the word I'm looking for. A little ambitious. And then toward the top of the ski resorts, this is all the way to Saturday morning. That's pretty reasonable. We're looking at maybe 2 feet, a little more, right around that. So that's not over ambitious. And then let's see if we go, there we go. And then this is the government camp. This is the new gem of a graphic I found when I was going through and doing some organizing the other day. As see, this is a 3-day total of 6. The other ones showed it that it was to tomorrow morning. But a bulk of the snowfall will be about 6 a.m., which means any driving that you need to do, if you have to go over the passes, I'd get out there now. And then tomorrow morning, at least through midday, it should be snowing, and then just a few tenths of accumulation all the way through into Friday. So the pass level, specifically government camp, usually San Am, because it's higher elevation, it gets a little more. So if that, depending on which way you're going or where you're headed, because of all of this awesome snow that we have, we're calling Thursday and Friday first alert weather days for the Cascades, because of about 15 to about 25 new inches of snow. Snow level down to between 2,000 to 4,000 feet, so that does mean snowy roads most of the time. And then today, most of that is dry.
Does that happen this often late in the season?
We have, yeah.
I
mean, we're still in winter.
Yeah.
And we're still in La Nina.
Okay.
So, you know, this is good spring snow. I don't think there's anything too abnormal about it. I mean,
Gotcha.
maybe we haven't seen it quite a bit. I did bring in, I should have. That's a good question. If we had more time, I'd go find that graphic that shows how much we've had, because we do have something that talks about the March snow and
Right.
how much we've had over the years. I just didn't bring it in, but I did bring
Wow.
in the rain
Aha.
because I wanted to
Yes.
talk about that. So spring break is coming for Oregon. I think pretty much all of Oregon is on spring break, kind of starting Friday when you get out of school, out of work, and then all of next week. We do actually have a few warm, sunny spring break days. I don't know if you've seen the updated 7-day.
I have not seen it, but I always like
I'll save the
that's-
best for last. So here are your sort of headlines for the next 7 days. What we're looking at is gray and wet Thursday through Saturday, and this is a bulk of the snow and the rain and everything that we're looking at for our next 7 days. Drier and warmer later the day on Sunday through Tuesday, and now even Wednesday is looking like it'll be in this upper 60 to low 70 degree temperature range. And then
I'm a fan of that.
Yep, but it's the wet start and the wet finish to the
Okay.
spring break. So we start wet, it's Friday, Saturday, then we clear up Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we go back into that showery wet pattern, which of course I have my upper level maps, because it wouldn't be a Fox 12 Now weather segment without an upper level
Exactly.
map. Okay. The rain that we were talking about, this is Portland hit 77 on, it wasn't this day, it was actually, Mark showed this yesterday. Yesterday, we hit 77. And so in 2004, we had 5-day, basically heat wave, if you want to call it that, for the 15th through the 19th. And then the only other happened twice in the past. So to kind of juxtapose your question, we've had less warm than we have had the cold, because we've only had a couple of the warm days, consecutive warm days throughout that. So there you have.
Okay.
Yes, so that's the kind of the temperature range for it. And here's our month. We started off warm, had pretty average to above average temperatures that first week, and then after the 9th, we've hit this cold stretch where we haven't been. See, what is that? Monday at 55, that was the warmest we've been basically since the 9th. And then today will be very similar in the mid-50, and then we drop back into the low 50s for the rest of the week until we get to Sunday. But even though we've had about a week and a half of cooler temperatures, we were so much above average that first week that we're still seeing an above average temperature for the month.
It was glorious, I will
Yep.
say. I do have questions here too. that
Okay.
I'll get those. Well, actually, getting into rain totals. This is Joshua asking how much rain has Salem picked up this month.
I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, we'd have to
Yep.
check that,
I'd have to
but-
look that up. I didn't pull that one in.
I imagine it's not too far off from.
Well, I mean,
Is it? Okay.
yeah.
This is why I don't know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I just said, yeah, I guess it's about the same.
Yes.
Okay.
So you know what I'll do is, I don't have time to do it today, but I'll go back in to, is that on Facebook?
Yep, that was on
Okay,
Facebook.
so I'll find
Joshua.
out that total, and
Okay.
I'll go back in on Facebook tomorrow when I come in after I get the forecast done, and I'll reply to that specific comment.
All right, there we
and
go.
give you the total, since I don't have it on hand, and Greg has a meeting that he has to get to. That's really important, so we only have so much time today.
So we will get that
Anyways,
to you tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely, and I will reply to that Facebook comment. So rain, obviously our wettest day, we had nearly an inch on the 12th. We've had, look at that, all those days, do you remember this is when we turned cool?
Yeah.
And we've been wet every single one of those days. Only 1/100th of an inch a couple times, not soaking wet, but we definitely have had accumulation. This will stick with us all the way through Saturday, and then we'll see about Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be the difference. But this is our average so far this month is 2.3, so like 2 3/10 of an inch.
Okay.
So we're past where we are at this point, but we still have to get, we should get another inch or two this next couple of days, so we'll easily make up our whole month if we get what it looks like we're going to get before we're done.
So plenty of rain.
Yep, okay, so this is what I'm talking about. I have one of these. Oh, I forgot to change my timing on that. I was updating this for you guys specifically, showing you that just once in the last 8 years, we've had what would be considered a wet March. If we get that 2 inches, then we'll be right up there with 2023. But it's been fairly dry Marches for the last almost decade. It's been pretty dry for us. I mean, look at 21 and 19, only an inch and a half.
Yeah.
Those are pretty dry for our marches. Okay, upper level pattern. This is what I live for. Here's what we have here. So this cool westerly flow, this showery pattern, brings in multiple rounds of this rain. This is all the way through Friday, which is a bulk of the time we're expecting the rain and the mountain snow. So we have that cool, showery, westerly flow. Then we start getting into Sunday, Monday, and we start to see our ridge. And as we know, that is associated with warmer, drier weather. It's not 100% that way all the time, but that's what you associate it with. So we have that warm, high pressure that comes up along the west coast. This is Monday, peaks on Tuesday, and then we start to see this cooler, showery pattern coming back. This is the second half of the week. So this is Friday. We see the potential for this drop. Now, again, this is a week away, so we know how that goes. We don't put too much stock or put a stamp and say, this is how
this is what it's going to be.
Going to be like, yes. So the cone of uncertainty for us. So there's your upper level pattern that we talked about there. And then the showers. 2 o'clock, you can see pretty much that the system has hit the coast. South winds will really pick up. We're looking at gusts like around 30 miles per hour. And then east wind picks up because everything's trying to get in and fill that void where that low pressure is. And by following the arrows, you can imagine right where that sucker is sitting for us. Then around 5 o'clock, it's to the metro and valleys. This is why we haven't seen any mountain snow just yet. Then when we go overnight and into tomorrow morning, you can see all that mountain snow. This is about midnight, breaks up just a little. At that point, it's shower cloud mix until about 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then that's that next round that comes in, continues, and you can see that stays pretty solid until Friday. Now, when I say solid, it's light rain. We're looking at 1 inch or 2 total through the metro, maybe a little more in the Salem area. I saw on the map that kind of totals a little higher there. Okay. Obviously, the coast and the Cascade Range will see more. But even though it's consistent rain, it's not expected to be real heavy downpours. Okay. So 1 inch in a couple days, where if you remember that map, we had more on one day last week than what we're looking at over the next 3 days. So that's where you don't have to worry about it just being wet and drippy. And then now we're into Saturday morning, and you see breaks in the clouds, some rain, some mountain snow still happening, and then that's about it. So when you break it down to the next 3 days, the heaviest rain would be tonight between 4 and 10 p.m. And then you can see there are those little breaks in the clouds I was telling you, the little dry periods that we have. And it's just consistently light, 0.05 to 1/10. I mean, it's not super heavy.
Yeah, just
until we get to Friday and then into Saturday. So that's the 8-day total. This one, about 0.8 of an inch, maybe 1 inch. There's some that are saying we're going to get a little more than that. But I like this one because it kind of shows it's not, up into 0.8 of an inch just in one day. And then, of course, I like to compare my models. Yes. So here's 2 more that we're watching, and that's not, oh, there we go. There we go. So see, our Euro likes the bias toward the heavy.
Always more precipitation.
So most of the time. Yeah. So the graph, the high resolution says 0.8, and then the 2 more long range, American and European, say, so there's quite a bit of.
That's a big difference.
It's a big difference. Yeah. But I tend to lean toward the high res a little more when we get a little closer, because they have they have the bigger grid boxes. So they're going to be less precise than the other ones. Okay. Gotcha. And then last but not least, to leave a happy spot in your day, dun, da, da,
yeah.
There you go.
There it is.
There's your updated 7-day forecast. I mean, it pretty much outlines everything that we talked about. Showers coming in today, light rain through the day tomorrow. Everything kind of finishes up by midday on Friday. Maybe a few lingering showers Saturday, then we dry out. This could be the first time we see a 60-degree day since the first day of the month, right? Because we had 66, and that was about it, if I remember right. And then possibly 70, 75, and then if we had one more day, Wednesday would say sunny and 70. Nice. And then Thursday's when that rain would return.
But that first part of the week there, spring break.
First 3 days, if you want to do something spring breaky outside,
those are the
plan those days, and then Thursday on, be ready to be wet if you go out. Which we do that. We're used to it.
All right, so there we go.
Yes.
All right, plenty to.
And I promise I'll get to that Salem question for you.
Yes, and pull that back up there as we come back over here. I do have Carmelo, who also wrote Oregon has the best weather. Thank you, Katie.
Yes.
So Katie did all of that. for you. You know, as obviously you control the weather here.
I do.
Yes.
I have actual magical powers.
Magical powers that Katie has. It is magical though. Your forecasts and predictions. I mean, you know, this is pretty amazing. What we can get.
It's difficult, and I have like 1 more minute left.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wish I could explain to the entire world is to people make the joke. It's the only job that you can be wrong half the time and still get paid. And the only way that we could ever be 100% right is if we had weather balloons covering the entire world so that we could take what we call the initial conditions that go into these models, because there are holes everywhere. Like, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, and if anybody knows different, please let me know. We have a weather balloon in Salem that goes up and grabs readings for us.
Okay.
We would need to have one in every area all over the whole state, because those initial conditions, that's what gets put into these models. And so it's just kind of trying to like meld and like mesh the holes to make those upper level maps. But if we had balloons that covered the entire face of the earth, all the oceans and the inhabited places around the world, then we could actually be more accurate. But we can't, because they send those balloons up 2 times a day, and then that's what gets initialized
and
into
all that data
is what makes all of our stuff.
That may be a future segment, just talking about what weather balloons are actually capturing.
Remember that fun little thing I showed you? We called it a skew T.
Yeah.
That's.
Okay, that could be a future one. But for everybody too, just drop your comments and questions on there. Katie will get back to you, Joshua.
Yes.
With the answer to your question. And thanks everybody for joining us. So this is Fox 12 Now. This is from the Fox 12 Oregon desk. I'll be back live at 1 o'clock. I've got stuff throughout the afternoon for you as well. But we also get to do these longer form segments with Katie and talking about the weather, extended forecasts, all that stuff. So it's a lot of fun. And thank you as always, Katie, for joining us. So thanks everybody, and make sure to download that Fox 12 Oregon app and the Fox 12 weather app. So get both of those, and that way you can stay up to date with the weather and with all the other shows and things that we're doing here. So thanks for being a part of that. But I think that's it for right now. Let's see. Can I hit the right button? I did. So fade. All right, thanks everybody. We'll be back with more Fox 12 Now soon.